I think you missed all that. There was a squirrel sat in the road, and I was waving at the car approaching it, and the absolute prick was completely oblivious to it. I went straight over the poor little bastard. Now I'm hoping that the tyre didn't get him. I was fucking fuming. What a prick. Should we try this again? Good morning. How the devil are you? I tell you what, if I come home from work this evening and see a dead squirrel in the road, this is why so many of them die. I can't believe people are so fucking blind. The fuck was he looking at? I was waving at him. The squirrel had more road sense than he did. Anyway, as I said, winter's here. Winter gloves. I put the thermal liner in the jacket last night. I was going to put the liner back in the trousers, but I didn't. I thought that might be a bridge too far. But what I've done is I've put them on over my work trousers, over me chinos. They're not chinos. Remember when chinos were a thing? Now of course it is highly probable that at some point you saw bugger all, because I'm guessing maybe the camera lens was all steamed up. It may have been, it may not have been, I don't know. I'm probably talking utter shite, and if I have any mercy on myself I'll cut this, but yeah, you know. Now then, what can we do here? Everybody's on red. Depends if that keep clear junction has been kept clear. No point now. Shut my mouth. I mean, the chances of it being kept clear are quite low, because again, most drivers are either blind, inconsiderate, or deliberately obstructive. Now just up through this next set, there's a giant box section painted on the floor in yellow paint. And what don't we do in a box junction? Park in it and obstruct. A box junction is not simply a keep clear request. I believe it's a road traffic offence to be sat in one. It's bad enough on traffic lights and other places, but when it's outside the fire station, like this one, it's there for a bloody good reason. Now some people might get caught out. It happens on a box junction, you know. I'm not going to lie, I've been caught out before in places, but I find it particularly obtuse of people that when I stop, and they can see I've stopped, and that there's a good few yards worth there, and so the car at the end moves forward and there's enough space for me to get in, so I go forward, and the pricks on behind follow on and just park across it. Well, I haven't seen if there's been any significant civil disobedience in the Principality of Wales. under the administration of the Sith Lord, Mark Drakeford, who is a bitter, miserable, tin pot dictator. Having enacted a blanket rollout of 20 mile an hour, 20 fucking miles an hour speed limits across all residential zones. Anywhere that was 30 basically is now 20 miles an hour. Well, it's for people's health. We'll be saving lives and money on the NHS. You won't. You won't. If more pedestrians are getting hit by cars, instead of lowering the speed limits, instead of punishing the drivers, why don't you take a look at your ridiculous, utterly ridiculous change to the highway code? Oh, my pin lock's pissing me off. I can't see anything. It's gone all misty on the inside of it, I think. Yeah. So yes, instead of penalising the driver and making them drive ever slower and slower, so that when they hit pedestrians the car bounces off, why don't you look at your ridiculous governmental policy of rewriting the highway code that instructs everybody that the most vulnerable, the most likely people to die in a traffic collision are pedestrians, and put them at the very top of the pyramid that have the most right of way. So why don't we spend a smaller amount of money and start educating people again on pedestrians, on road safety? Where's the green fucking cross code? Huh? Let's get Mr. Prowse out again, dig him up. Roads are dangerous, they've got cars on them. And finally, I don't care why he's arrived at this conclusion, whether it's a cynical attempt at trying to cling on to power in next year's general election because the writing's on the wall, or whether he's actually finally had an epiphany. I don't care. But we've had some movement here in the UK on the draconian, ridiculous net zero commitments, namely the pushing back by 5 years of criminalisation of the sale of new petrol or diesel engine cars in 20 days. We push back to 2035. What it needs is pushing back further until it falls off a cliff into the fucking sea, as far as I'm concerned. Right? If electric cars were that bloody good, everybody would want one. But they're not good. And we know they're not good because the government was having to legislate to force you into one. And I am tired. You may have noticed that I'm a bit tired of all of this. I am sick to the fucking back teeth of listening to advocates of these fucking eco-warriors that come on the telly and on the radio and tell you that, ooh, an electric car is cheaper to run over the lifetime of the vehicle. No, it's not. if you have the luxury of being able to charge from home, then currently, if you own the vehicle long enough, then it might work out cheaper, as long as you don't have to replace the battery, of course. But if you're one of the millions of households who do not have access to off-road parking and have no guarantee of being able to park outside their house, unless the government was to make it a legal requirement that public chargers charge the same rate as your domestic overnight electricity, you're gonna get shafted. As it stands now, charging publicly is no cheaper than running your car on petrol or diesel. So if you take that into consideration, and take into consideration the higher insurance premium, and take into consideration the potential of having to replace a battery at some point during the car's life cycle, then no, it's not cheaper. I'm just sick of people assuming that the rest of the country is like fucking Kensington. Anyway, that's enough of me whinging. Have a lovely day. Toodaloo! Note to self, you plonker. Don't utter the words that would describe how my device had halted taking video pictures. Because it will switch it off, won't it, you prick? Uh-oh.